In northeast California is the county of Lawson. Lawson County was formed on April 1st, 1864, following the two-day conflict known as the Sagebrush War that started on February 15th, 1863. During the late 1850s and early 1860s, due to uncertainties over California's border, the area that is now Lawson County was part of the unofficial Natagua Territory and Roop County, Nevada. In the simplest terms, the conflict, also known as the Boundary War, was the result of General John C. Fremont's selection in 1850 of the 120th meridian for California's eastern boundary. The problem was no one knew where that was, and assumed it followed the crest of the Sierra Nevada mountains. In the late 1850s, with the settlement of the Honey Lake Valley, officials of both California and Nevada saw the uncollected tax dollars waiting to be had. Tensions escalated, wherein an armed conflict on February 15, 1863 from the two states took place at Roop's Fort, also known as Fort Defiance. In the end, a truce was called when both sides agreed to conduct a boundary line survey to locate the 120th meridian, in which was determined the majority of the Honey Lake Valley was located in California. Thus began the process to create a new California county. The county was named by European Americans after Peter Lawson, along with Lawson Peak, which is in adjoining Shasta County. Lawson was one of General John C. Fremont's guides and a famous trapper, frontiersman, and Indian fighter. Lawson was murdered under mysterious circumstances near the Black Rock Desert in 1859, and his murder was never solved. Lawson County boasts the volcanic eruption of the Lawson Peak on May 22, 1915, the southernmost active volcano in the Cascade Range. It devastated nearby areas and rained volcanic ash as far away as 200 miles to the east. This explosion was the most powerful in a series of eruptions from 1914 to 1917 that were the last to occur in the Cascades before the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens. Lawson Peak was the largest of a group of more than 30 volcanic domes erupted over the past 300,000 years in Lawson Volcanic National Park. Eagle Lake in Lawson County is 5,100 feet above sea level, about 16 miles north of Susanville. It is the largest natural freshwater lake wholly in California. Eagle Lake is well known for its fish and wildlife. Around its shores are located one of the last colonies of nesting osprey and the largest nesting colony of western and eared grebe in the western United States. It is the home of the Eagle Lake trout, which are native only to Eagle Lake. The Biz Johnson Trail is along the Susanville River in Lawson County. The main trailhead is at the old railroad depot in the city of Susanville. Following the old Fernley and Lawson branch line of the Southern Pacific Railroad, the trail winds 25.4 miles from Susanville to Mason Station. The county seat of Lawson County, Susanville, was founded by Isaac Newton Roop, a United States politician, pioneer, and lifelong member of the Whig Party. In 1850, the Maryland-born 29-year-old Roop, whose wife of 10 years died of typhoid in Maryland, moved to California with two sons, John and Isaiah, and his daughter, Susan. His first 3 years in California were spent in Shasta County in farming and trading. During this period, he also held the positions of postmaster and school commissioner. He had accumulated in that time upwards of $15,000 worth of property, but in June 1853 lost it all by fire. It was then that Roop retreated to the Sierra Nevada and to Honey Lake, where he concentrated on his own backcountry holdings and nearly single-handedly erected the burg of Roop Town, which he would later name for his daughter Susan. In September 1859, Roop was elected the first territorial provisional governor of the proposed Nevada County. At that time, Susanville was thought to be in Nevada instead of California. The new provisional government first convened on December 15, 1859, in the town of Genoa. Roop lived in the contested county of Roop. He was elected in 1861 to the new Nevada Territorial Senate. After the county's dissolution in 1865, Roop returned to Susanville, California. There he became Lawson County's district attorney for 2 terms and stayed in the town that he had built and loved until his death on February 14, 1869. His daughter, Susan Roop Arnold, resided in the town as well until her own death in 1921, and both were buried in the town's cemetery. There is a mural depicting father and daughter in downtown Susanville at 700 Main Street on the side of the Nathan Building. The economy had formerly depended on agriculture, mining, and timber, but since the late 20th century has been increasingly dependent on prisons. The city has now 2 prisons, and a federal prison has opened in nearby Herlong, also in Lawson County. In 2007, half of the adults in Susanville worked in these facilities, and 11,000 people were incarcerated in the rural county. There is a 2007 documentary film called Prison Town about Susanville trying to resuscitate its economy by accepting construction of a state prison. For many years, timber was one of the mainstays of the Susanville economy. One of the sawmills in the area was Bremer Sawmill. Timber loaded on lumber wagons was a common sight in the streets of the town in the 1890s. One of the tree lumber companies was the Red River Lumber Company. Since farming was one of the sources of income for the area, the fruits and vegetables needed secure packaging to keep them secure from the hazards of transportation. The Lawson Lumber and Box Company was incorporated in 1918 and made produce, packing crates, and boxes. The officers and principal stockholders were R.D. Baker, Charles McGowan, George N. Glass, and A.G. Brotweiser. Mr. Brotweiser had his hand in many things in the development of Susanville. One thing he did, since he was an avid golfer, was to negotiate the purchase of a ranch outside of town for the Susanville Country Club. Susanville houses an Elks Lodge of beauty and tradition. It is no doubt the most photographed landmark in Lawson County. On March 22, 1884, J.G. Leonard, a dentist and would-be architect, purchased a vacant lot from Sarah Hasselklass for $450. The house he designed was unusual in that all the rooms, with the exception of the kitchen dining area, were octagonal in shape. In November 1884, Leonard hired Charles Odette, a local sawmill man and carpenter, to construct it. Susanville, being such a small town, was not large enough to support a full-time dentist. Leonard went bankrupt as the upkeep on his house was expensive, and many of his patients paid in trade rather than in cash. In 1890, William Green, who Leonard owed $2,800, was awarded the house. On April 11, 1908, Green's estate sold the home to Joel Henry Swain for an undisclosed amount. Swain had arrived in Lawson County in 1888, and he switched careers from farmer to saloon keeper. Swain's wife Annie, a staunch Methodist, disapproved of her husband's new occupation, but did enjoy the finer things of life that the saloon trade provided. In 1918, Swain died, leaving his wife Annie and 4 children. In 1921, a group of Susanville businessmen formed the Antlers Club in an attempt to form a local BPO Elks Lodge. In 1922, the Antlers Club approached Annie Swain to purchase her residence for their clubhouse. An agreement was reached, and she sold it to them for $13,000. In 1924, the Antlers Club received a charter to become Elks Lodge number 1487, and A.G. Breitweiser, prominent local lumberman, became the first exalted ruler. Susanville was a mass of color and holiday spirit as 500 Elks gathered to celebrate the new lodge. The Elks band met incoming dignitaries at the train station and marched them up Main Street to the new lodge. 141 new candidates were installed that day, and 60 demits joined from surrounding lodges, many from Reno. Judge E. Gaddis of Woodland, District Deputy for the Northern District, was in charge of the ceremonies. Even the Knights of Columbus joined the festivities. The Susanville Lodge continues to be an active and beneficial organization, staying true to the tradition and principles of elkdom and contributing to the support of our nation's veterans, our nation's youth through special programs, and through the camaraderie of its members.